So I think influence can be created, it can be scaled, and it can be managed just like any other goal, as long as you have influence goals that can be measured by the numbers. But before you can get to the numbers, you got to have an influence strategy. That's what we're talking about in this episode of Amped Up Influence, the podcast.
Welcome to Amped Up Influence, the podcast, where we share tools, resources, and strategies to help you amp up your expertise with the power of your voice so you can become an influencer in your industry. Here's your host, Shirley Hayes.
Alrighty. Thank you very much for joining me today. I certainly appreciate it. So, when it comes to amping up your influence, I don't think you can do it really well unless you have an influence strategy. Now, to be fair, there are a lot of celebrities, so to speak, who have influence that just kind of happens literally overnight. And then there are others who weren't planning to be an influencer by any means, and it just kind of happened. That does happen, but it's not the normal way that things happen. And certainly when it comes to business, if you're trying to amp up your influence within your specialty, your industry, then that's something that you want to create, you want to scale it, and you want to manage it, because that's going to be really important for the success of your business or your brand. So that's what I wanted to talk about today. Creating your own influence strategy, your own set of influence goals based on whatever your goals happen to be within your industry. And those goals can be, just about anything, from the number of people that you want to influence, but we'll come back to that, to what you want to be known for, and what kind of influence do you want to create. All those things are within your grasp, in my opinion, if you have a strategy, if you have a plan, a blueprint, and you do it consistently. So let's start from the top. I'm always talking about know, like, and trust. Those are three factors that are so important that you got to get that down, because those three factors are going to be the things that help you create that influence, scale it up, and manage it. So if you have a little sticky note, write know, like, and trust, so that you see it on your computer every time you sit down to do anything that has to do with your influencer strategy. Make sure you do that. Now, this is not about Kardashian influence, millions of followers and the red carpet kind of stuff. If that's your goal, nothing wrong with that, but I can't help you with that. I don't have any idea about that. My focus on Amped Up Influence is on micro influence, which basically means a much smaller universe of people, because most businesses and most entrepreneurs, depending on what you're doing, you don't need millions of people to be crazy successful. Now, of course, depending on the dollar amount that you want to have, you may need a bigger crowd to influence, absolutely. But that's going to depend on those numbers. And we're going to get back to that, because that's where the treating your influence with measurable goals comes into play. So just so that you know, I'm talking about a micro influence of people. That could be 500, it could be 1,000 people, it could be 5,000, 10,000 can still be considered micro when it comes to influence. 100,000 could be as well. But we're not talking about millions and millions of fans, okay? Now, if you want to scale your influence, because it doesn't happen overnight, you got to have that plan in place and those goals. It's going to take time. So you have to be prepared to spend time growing your influence. And you have to be prepared to schedule that time and treat it like anything else in your business. It's important if you want to create a certain level of influence within your industry. So to do that, we go back to know, like, and trust, right? The know part, and I hear this a lot from clients I've worked with and others. How do I get to the know? How do we do the know? What is the know? In this case, when we're talking about online influence, which is typically where everyone builds their influence, we're talking about content. Years ago, Bill Gates said content is king, and it still is. You just have to do it well. And Gary Vaynerchuk, or also known as Gary V, posted something on LinkedIn a few weeks ago that I thought was spot on. I'm paraphrasing because I don't have the exact verbiage, but he said something to the effect of, don't post content you think people will like. Post content about what you want to be known for. That is so important. Look, I love a good dog video. I'm a dog person. I see a dog video and I'm a sucker. I am going to watch it, no doubt. But does it make me want to know, like, and trust the person that posted it? No. I just go on to the next thing. I just wanted to see the video. Not that there's anything wrong with that. There's a time and a place for that. But when you're trying to build your influence for your business, for your products or your services, post what you're known for. I couldn't agree with Gary more. So the content that you create, it's got to be about what you do, and it's got to be done in a way that people can absorb it in a way so that they can really get into it and get to know you. So they're going to be getting to know you through your content. That's where the know comes from. When I was in radio, I was on a station in Chicago, and from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m., I was on the air at a time when most people are at work. So when I first got that position, I said, wow, how do I connect with this audience? What can I do to put me in a place with them where they can get to know me and eventually, hopefully, like me? And I came up with the idea of referring to them as my coworkers. And it got to a point where they would refer to me as their coworker. So every time I did anything on the air, it was always focused on my coworkers. You're at work, I'm at work. I just happen to be that coworker that plays music that you like, gives away money, and treats you to lunch. What a nice coworker, huh? But that worked really, really well for me. And that's where the know part started to build. The content was the music, of course, and the contest and so on and so forth. So you have to think about what kind of content can you create that will allow your target audience to get to know you and who you are and what you do. All right. The like part, in my opinion, the like comes from the content. If they like the content and they keep coming back for more, that's a pretty good indication they like you and they like what you do. Sometimes you'll have, somebody that just comes back and they don't like you, but they just, they're just there. That happens. You have to get over it and don't put a lot of energy into that kind of personality. Focus on the people within your target audience who have raised their hand and said, wow, I like your content. And that means I like you. Okay? Then we get to trust. One of the things that's going to help you build that trust is your consistency with whatever you're doing. If you find out that your content is striking a nerve with them and they like it, they keep coming back for more, then you know that they like you, and you also know that you are building trust. Now, does that mean they're going to automatically start buying your products and services? No, some will, some won't. They need time to really decide, okay, I think I can trust this person. They've shown me with their content. They've been consistent. They're there. I'm going to take that next step, and I'm going to go ahead and make a purchase with them. Because once you build that trust, that know, like, and trust, when they have something that you solve, whatever problem that you solve with your services or your products, there's always a competitor. But if you're building that know, like, and trust with them, and when they're ready to buy what you offer, they're more likely to come to you than your competitor who maybe hasn't built that know, like, and trust with them. That's why know, like, and trust is so important. That's why it's so important that you get that down. And you're not going to get it right the first time. You may not get it right the second time. And you're still going to make mistakes. That's okay. Just learn from your mistakes, fix it, pivot, and move forward. Mistakes happen. I make them all the time. But once you learn from those mistakes, that's the most important thing. Learn from them, make the adjustment, and move forward. This is your influence we're talking about. And I want you to treat your influence, that strategy, like any other thing that you would with your business. You're going to devote time to it. Whatever time that you can, make sure it's time that you can do consistently. Don't say, okay, I'm going to spend 20 hours a week working on my influence if you really don't have 20 hours a week that you can do that with. Okay? If you only have an hour a day, a few hours a week, that's all that you can put into it, then put that aside, be consistent with it, and do not waver. Make it a habit. Make building your influence a habit. So get started. Get a piece of paper or get in front of your computer, whatever works best for you, your smartphone, and start asking yourself some questions. Look at the platforms. Does this platform make sense for you to use, whatever platform that is? If you're not sure, look for competitors on that platform. If you see they're getting a lot of engagement, that's a pretty good idea that might be a good platform for you as well. Okay? You don't have to be on every platform. If you're not on social media or you're just on one or two, start with the one or two. If you start to do too much or try to do too much at one time, you're going to get overwhelmed and you're going to give up. I guarantee it. Take your time, find out what works before you move on to the next step. And the cool thing is, you've got me to help you along the way. If you have questions, leave them in the comments or send me a message. If you're on social media and you see me, I'll be glad to answer back and help you any way I can. All right? Work on your influence strategy before you get out there and start trying to make yourself an influencer in your industry. Trust me, if you make it a goal that's measurable, when I say measurable, how many do you want in your micro influence, in your influential circle? Is it 500? Is it 1,000? When you have a number that you can shoot for, you always have that in front of you. When you don't have something you can measure, then it kind of goes back and forth. Well, maybe I'll do it, maybe I won't. But the numbers don't lie. Attach a number to your strategy, and it'll change the way you look at it. It'll change the way you work on it, and it'll change the way you think about it completely. Thanks for listening. I'll see you in the next episode. Ciao for now.